See if we are live. Okay, we're live. Okay. This is going to be a sort of rant. I wanted to do it just kind of off the cuff, but before I do that, happy 2-day, which is the second month, the second year. It's 2/2/2/2 on Tuesday. It's pretty cool. We'll acknowledge that. That is really cool for numerologists, for people who believe the numbers kind of dictate your life in some sense. So that's pretty cool. Hold on. Let me just get a little more situated here. I was raised up too high. Okay, so I was going to let people come into the room, but I just think I'm just going to say it. Okay, I have seen an uprise in crimes lately, but crimes especially committed towards people with disabilities. And far too often, victims are blamed in a roundabout way, and dignity is just pretty much going out the window for these people. Statistics show that 1 in 5 individuals with disabilities will be killed by a caregiver. 1 in 5. Let that sink in. The sheer magnitude of people on that scale. And far too often, what winds up happening is, yes, there are a lack of resources for many individuals with disability, and family, friends, and caregivers do often shoulder some responsibility, some burden, if you will. But I'm so sick and tired of when somebody gets abused or somebody kills somebody with a disability. Far too often, the killer is the one that has compassion shown on them. That the person with There was a recent little boy who was abandoned in the street. At 9 years old, he was nonverbal, not able to communicate with anybody. She could have left him anywhere. She could have done anything, but she decided to abandon him. And yet, people are saying, oh, well, she must have been overwhelmed. She must have been overworked. She must have been burdened. We can't ever judge somebody like that. Yet, if it was a child that didn't have disabilities, she would be labeled a monster. So how is it okay for one versus the other? Okay, and that was a child who was nonverbal, and I don't know what other disabilities they had today, or that they had. So, that was one instance. There's another one that happened just this month where a father killed his adult disabled son who did not have cognitive delays, who was just in a wheelchair. And as soon as he graduated high school and was at home and didn't have someone else caring for him during those 8 hours, the father decided to smother him in his sleep and then take his own life. This adult person with a disability was just in a wheelchair. He could understand everything that was happening to him. He knew who it was, and his last moments were, why would someone who's supposed to love and care for me do this to me? And yet people are saying, well, mentally it's hard to take care of someone with a disability. Mentally it's hard to deal with the idea that you are less than. Constantly. I'm so tired of this. Well, people with disabilities are burdens, so it's okay to kill? It's okay to kill those people? It's okay to devalue them? Or, on the other swing, if somebody treats someone with a disability with any sort of compassion, any sort of decency and treating them like a human being, they're exalted, they're somehow a hero for treating somebody as an equal. This wouldn't work in any other demographic. This wouldn't work if you had people of color, if you had people of a different faith. You would assume that they would be equal. Instead, someone with a disability is automatically deemed less. There was another case where an 11-year-old boy was punched to death by his mother. She got 3 weeks of jail time. Why? Because the judge deemed that she was under so much pressure because that child must have been such a burden to them that it's okay. That is okay. And the burden of hearing all the time that you are a burden just puts that stigma of you are less than, always and forever. And even if somebody kills you in cold blood, they should be given more compassion than you. For something you cannot control, you cannot predict, and you cannot change at all. So I've just been seeing this influx of cases lately, and it's truly scary. And it's not just people dying. 1 in 5 is already a scary statistic, but 67%, almost 70%. That is a very high number of disabled women and men alike report some sort of abuse, either financial, sexual, emotional, or physical abuse in their lifetime because of their disability. And far often, people are not believed. People are not helped. Or the perpetrator is seen as someone who needs help, not the victim. We need to change this. These are society things that make disability harder than they need to be. It's not the challenges that already face the body or the brain. It's how society responds to it. We gotta do better. This demographic has been the only demographic that throughout history has been persecuted, and people have allowed it and justified it for far too long. If you see something, say something. And a lot of times people say, well, we can't give a voice to the voiceless. Many of the people that report these abuses don't have cognitive delays, or if they do, they can still report abuse. They can still tell you what happened to them, but they're not being heard. And it just needs to stop. We've seen Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, Gay Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all these different lives, which do matter. But why is disability the only demographic that anybody can be a part of, but is often the first to be silenced? That's all I gotta say about that. Like I said, that was just on my mind, and I've been up since 4 because I have an appointment later, and those are already the challenges that people with disabilities face. That they have to get up earlier, they have to do more during the day, they have to do so much that It's exhausting. And then to always be reminded that it is a privilege pretty much for you to be alive, because you could be that statistic. And in some of the articles, the person with a disability isn't even named, but their killer is. Their killer's shown compassion or leniency, not even just in the media, but in the court. This is 2022. Be better.